Hari Om Tat Sat. Welcome to Swami Jyotirmayananda Society, our journey to self realization. Please subscribe for mystical meanings and to enjoy daily satsang. We are currently exploring the book Yoga Essays for Self Improvement, which is a beautiful book and touches upon many topics, authored by Swami Jyotirmayananda, narrated by myself, Swami Nikhilananda. So today we are going to pick a very special topic, bliss and how to experience it. We all want that, don't we? Bliss, but very few are able to achieve it and sustain it. The central task before all mystic movements is the unfoldment of bliss. It is the deep rooted goal of every human being. This bliss is known in Sanskrit as Ananda, and Ananda is Brahman, the Absolute. The Upanishads describe Brahman as Sat Chit Ananda, existence, knowledge, and bliss. Existence is absolute being, knowledge is pure consciousness, and bliss is happiness beyond all human concepts. It is important to understand the difference between the ordinary concepts of pleasure, happiness, or joy and the spiritual goal of Ananda. In the relative world, happiness, joy, and pleasure are sought, acquired in degrees, and then lost. They come and go. Bliss, on the other hand, does not come and go. It is the essence, the essential nature of the human being. In reality, then, bliss is neither cultivated nor developed but experienced in the form of revelation. The scriptures give a simple analysis to what we call pleasure. At the mass level, people are aware of happiness or pleasure, which depends upon the objects of the world, since it is experienced through the senses. But it does not take much observation to see how much such human concepts of happiness and pleasure are based on illusion. According to the scriptures, happiness is not in the objects but within one's own being. That is why the scriptures say, Atmanastu kamaya sarvam priyam bhavati. We do things for the sake of our own being, ourself. However, because of the illusion of desire, an individual rejects his intrinsic happiness in favor of some object. The process can be easily understood by taking some object that through ignorance you have developed a fondness towards. Although this fondness allows the psychic material to flow from your mind into that object, in reality, the object is neither desirable nor even interesting in itself. It is a fallacious and fictitious name and form. But as your desire flows towards it, it envelops the object and makes it begin to shine. This shining attribute has been invested on the object by your own externalized mind, and when your desire has painted the object in this way, your own bliss, self, begins to reflect in it. This is how you find the object so wonderful. Actually, it's the self shining into the object, or other words, looking into a reflection. Further, analyzing this process, you find that you seem to receive more happiness from an object towards which you have invested more mental energy than you do from those objects allotted less mental involvement. If you have longed for something, say for 6 years, and then suddenly you get it, there is greater happiness, speaking from a worldly point of view, than if you had desired it for only 24 hours. The greater the tension you build up in your mind about an object, the greater the illusion of finding happiness in it. The moment you acquire an object you have been looking for, or longing for, there is a temporary withdrawal of mental tension, and in that state of withdrawal or relaxation, the bliss of the self is allowed to pass through the veil of subtle desires. It is much the same as sunlight gradually filtering through as the clouds thin out. So too, as mental tensions created by one's desires is released, that bliss shines through. And it is here that the limited mind makes the mistake of attributing the experiences of happiness to the presence of the object. Then, because of the lack of inquiry and the consequent lack of understanding, one develops attachment towards that experience and mentally wills to have that object, to secure it, to possess it. But usually, by the time he possesses and secures it, his mind drifts away from that source of happiness to something else. And this is what happens in our lives. We continue to chase the mirage, one object to the other. Temporarily, we find some happiness, then it drifts away again. And this process continues throughout one's life and into many embodiments. Just doesn't end with, with our death, it follows us in future also. Raja Yoga gives an insight into this apparent happiness and simply states that all forms of pleasure are painful. The reasons, according to Raja Yoga, are many. Firstly, tapa, feverish effort is involved in getting an object. Such effort is exhausting and is carried on from one lifetime to another. Another reason, says Raja Yoga, is because of parinama, results of running after objects. Every experience of pleasure creates samskaras or impressions. Samskaras create karmas, which in turn create embodiments. So, it is only not only the effort involved in finding the object of pleasure that is painful, every experience of pleasure creates an impression of raga or attachment, which is a klesha or affliction that leads an individual into further karmic entanglements because of our attachment to it. Another point concerns the moods of the mind, which vary according to the gunas or the modes of nature. For example, things that delight a person in a healthy or sattvic state of mind will not delight him when his mind is unhealthy, meaning it's in the rajasic or tamasic state. Things that are disgusting to a healthy mind become delightful to an unhealthy mind. A sattvic mind seeks simplicity, lives a life of contentment and perseverance, while a rajasic mind wants trouble, becomes entangled, runs after so many objects of the world, and becomes attached to them. A tamasic mind seeks pleasure through hatred and tension, confusion and turmoil. And so, as long as the mind is dominated by the changing gunas, the concepts of happiness will change, and ultimately, no enduring happiness is found. The Gita gives further insight into happiness determined by the three gunas. Sattvic happiness is strange in that, at first sight, it looks like poison and tastes bitter. But if pursued, the resulting experience is nectar. For example, the practice of meditation, turning away from evil association, changing the grooves of the mind for an internalized and reflective life, turning away from the trivialities of the world, accepting a life of simplicity rather than one of pompous vanity, all seem bitter to begin with. However, when persistently practiced, they turn out to be nectar in the end. Rajasic pleasures, on the other hand, is like nectar in the beginning but poison in the end. Reversed. For example, if you come into contact with a cleverly deceitful person who knows you have plenty of money, it is possible you will see honey flowing through every word he utters until you have been totally cheated and deceived. To begin with, it was wonderful, but in the end, it was frustrating and miserable. Rajasic pleasure is pleasure sought by an externalized mind. Everything that is immediate seems wonderful. The mind does not utilize any discriminative vision, it does not think. So, with this, we conclude our satsanga for today, and we will continue this beautiful journey on the same topic of bliss in tomorrow's satsang. This is Swami Nikhilananda. Hari Om Tat Sat.